Mr. Triangle said, I understand. He understands the thing with the competitors. I mean, in the sense of not easily accessible unless you're in a guild. It's an interesting topic of discussion. We can tackle this. The whole situation with the being an MMO, being part of a big world, and trying to do, let's say, harder content. Could this, let's put it like this, is the highest competitive content within an MMO in a healthy state if it requires you to be part of the community?
Okay,
that is the question. I would say yes, but it's a longer answer, right?
All right. So
is it hard to get into a guild? Is it, all that?
No, I don't think it's hard to get into a guild. I mean, I've made this example a bunch of times, and we've talked about it on stream a bunch of times. And I guess if we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about it. What it means to
MGK said.
What is a guild, right? And why are guilds important for an MMO, right? You've decided to play an MMO. An MMO is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game, right? Massively multiplayer online. That's the main attraction to an MMO, because otherwise you'll just be playing a single-player RPG, which is seemingly what a bunch of people, I don't want to say a lot because I don't know what the exact statistics, but a bunch of people want to get into is like having that ease of access. And this is kind of how WoW has been trending since probably Wrath, or maybe end of Wrath. They started to add more LFG options, more looking for a group, more fewer restrictions in you having a pre-made group into tackling instance PvE content. And I don't know how they approach PvP, but now we're gonna have solo queue, which again is something I don't know when they took out teams from arenas, because in TBC you had teams, you registered at teams, and you would have to queue in arenas with teams.
Yeah, I think Legion or either Warlords or Legion, they removed the teams.
Yeah, so the game has steadily been going away from requiring you to have a centralized social group in which you partake in to get into content, which I don't know if it's good or bad. Obviously, the gaming industry gets more modern with each new year. However, it does kill the social aspect of the game, because you don't have any more interaction. So if this will continuously progress in this direction, then you don't even have to talk to anybody anymore. You don't really need to do that now anyway, but it kills the social aspect of the game. And I think the social aspect of an MMO is important to give that feel that you're in a living world with other people, and I don't think that feeling should go away. And to Blizzard's credit, they did a lot of things into making getting into guilds very accessible, specifically with the Guild Finder tool. I mean, there's no easier way to find a group of people than using the Group Finder, Guild Finder, Community Finder tool inside the game. Where you can actually tell the tools like you want dungeons, you want raids, you want PvP, you want questing, you want leveling. All of that is built inside the game. So people who say that they cannot find the guild, I mean, come on, man, are you even trying? There's like so many tools making it accessible for you to get a group going. Not to mention, I mean, Marcelian is probably the more recent example of this, but I also said it before, how much more fun it is to raid with a guild.
Yeah, I was about to make this argument, because I think Mr. Tringle Pringle is kind of underlining the fact that people tend to get a really hard time when they're looking for parties or players, basically the LFG type situation where you want to get invited to a mythic dungeon or be a pug basically in either a mythic raid or some sort of high-end content. And yeah, that's not the best solution if you want to get into that. Being part of a guild is so damn rewarding, and if like at least 50% of that guild is similar to the way you want to play the game, or has the similar objectives, it gets better, because you will always have people to do dungeons with, you'll always have people to raid with or do other stuff, different activities. It's way easier because you're part of a group. Having the argument that some folks are, let's say, not that social, or a bit more, I would say, shy or something, or have a little bit more anxious on getting into guilds and talking over there, whatever. I can understand that. That's part of it as well. But hey, nobody is, I don't think nobody's recruiting in terms of like how social can you be, or how communicative can you be within the guild chat or whatever.
And I think to that point, our previous guild is the best example of it, because we were not required to have comms.
We used to raid without comms at all. We used to and it worked out. We were heroic raiding, fair, but we always cleared it, no problem, without any voice counts. Me and Flame were on the voice counts because you know we have to bash each other. But the whole process was on, you know, we were writing in chat, and it was fine.
With that in mind, also to address your next point, you mentioned that you need to have at least clear some of the mythic bosses to get invited. It's like applying for your job where you need the experience, but you don't have experience because you cannot apply to the job.
I mean, for
also wrong, because the spectrum of guild requirements is very large, and you can get into mythic guild without mythic progress. Not to mention you can pug mythic bosses. People have been doing it for years, ever since they've allowed, you know, cross-realm mythic rating, which is what we have right now. You can pug mythic bosses. It's shitty if you need to extend it for overnight because, you know, you need the same players back, but you can get mythic kills. It's a different approach, so there are options for everything. Of course, he says not quite, because mythic ain't a beginner level job in the first place. If you want to get into mythic for the first time, you need to build the experience first. Don't expect to be given handouts.
That's very, very true.
To Percy's point, there are guilds who are starting to raid mythic and have been raiding only heroic, so they're taking heroic level players. There's basically endless options. You just need to find the ones that are right for you, because once we have addressed this topic before in streams and discords and so on, people keep coming up with, I don't necessarily want to call them excuses, but there are solutions to pretty much every problem that has been addressed when it comes to mythic. You just need to search them enough. When we started to raid in our previous heroic guild, we had almost no heroic experience. We would just pug stuff. Marcelian had no raiding. I don't know if you have had any raiding experience once you get. So from zero to heroic is a bigger leap than from heroic to mythic, I feel.
Yeah.
At least for the first couple of bosses. So there are solutions.
Yeah, pugging is literally impossible to get in unless you're lucky, though. That's what I'm saying, Tringle. This is the thing with pugging. It's a very I don't know how they could fix that.
It's a hit and miss, but after a certain hit and misses, you're gonna get a hit, and all you need is a hit.
I think it's way easier to get into a guild than trying to pug all your life. That's all I'm saying. We did it. I never raided. I never PvE'd much in. Like at all, up until BFA, I have never PvE'd. I only did arenas and RBGs, right? And they still took me into a heroic guild. I did my thing. I learned. I blogged and stuff like that. Tried to improve myself. We raided with the heroic guild. I don't know, 2 years or something. Part of the main roster all the time or whatever. Yeah. And then we got trialed, because in a mythic raid, first obviously you get to get trialed. You know, you go with the mythic guild and get, I would say, tested a little bit, see if you do well over there.
Twice actually, because we changed our mains. In
We changed the mains. Yeah, true. So I think the most easy and I would say more natural way within an MMO is to actually find the community. We kind of avoid plugins. Like when we're like a man short, when we're doing our dungeons and stuff or stuff like that, man, we're trying our best to find somebody we know to get into the group, because plugin, again, they still have a lot of work to do on that. I'm sure they have a couple of ideas to improve the system, but for now, it's not really the best way to get into doing content at all. Plus, you have to understand, Pug World is like flavor of the month world almost all the time. So if you're not playing like the S tier spec over there, you're gonna have a hard time. I mean, I know 3K red paladins that are having the hardest time to get into dungeons. You're red, get the fuck out. You know what I'm saying? So there's also that aspect.
That's
of
a topic about meta that we definitely want to cover.
We will talk. We'll have a big ass topic about meta in the future.
It's an MMO. If you play an MMO, you kind of indirectly subscribe to the aspect of socializing with players. The degree to which you socialize can be changed as well. Like we said, our previous guild wasn't big on voice comms, although we did have a Discord. We weren't required to be on voice comms. Nobody asked anything. Everything was in game chat. And I mean, if that's even a problem, then I mean, maybe we need to talk about a totally different game than World of Warcraft. However, if you can get past those barriers of entries, which and this is maybe, beat a dead horse with a stick topic, but if you haven't played back in Classic and TBC, which you can do now, but it's not the same, then like the accessibility options that you have now to socialize in any way, shape, or form are out of this world. Back when, if you remember the old days when you walked 20 minutes to get to the instance level and you waited there to see if there's anybody there, or type in chat, anybody want to do well in caverns, and you waited for 30 minutes for somebody to answer, then you had to wait 30 more minutes for them to get there. It's like, listen, man, there has to be a level, there has to be a point where you stop with, the accessibility, right? Because otherwise we just sit in the garrison and just click a button and
remember
log into
garrison?
everything.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
was-
That's what happens when you take away all of the, not necessarily barriers of entry, but you know, a little bit of getting into the world to experience the living world, even if that's like flying to the mythic dungeon or mythic raid entrance to get inside, or to get the people going, or getting outside. It's like, hey, do you want to do a dungeon? Sure. If you automate all of that, then you're just left with a garrison, and you just click a couple of buttons. I click this button to do a dungeon, I click this button to do a raid, I click this button to do a BG. Is that really what you want? Because that's kind of where it goes. Then the world dies, there's no more living world. So what are we doing? We're just playing instance content.